Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be going through my mouse and keyboard setup for playing MMO games, and in my humble opinion it is one of the best setups that you can get, but do feel free to share yours in the comment section down below if you think yours is slightly better. Now, the TLDR of what I use is essentially miniature keyboard, an MMO mouse, and I also like to have a padded mouse mat because obviously when you're playing MMOs you're inevitably going to have very long gaming sessions, and that does come in very useful so you don't get horrible like red marks on your wrist here, which is not great. So with this setup I can actually have a total of 102 keybinds which are all fairly easy to press with not that much hassle. And the main reason why I go for the miniature keyboard is because it is easier to press certain keys, which gives you access to better keybinds, and also just generally makes the modifiers, obviously Shift, Control and Alt here, just easier to press, and it's obviously easier to get to your tab target. Obviously the downside of having a miniature keyboard is you are missing a quarter of your keyboard, but you do have an FN key here, which kind of basically negates that problem because, it's a modifier to press basically all those keys that you are missing on the keyboard, and they're normally here. So, it's not really that much of a problem. Obviously, the MMO mouse, it doesn't really matter what MMO mouse you go for or what miniature keyboard. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I cannot recommend more than the other, really. I don't really like the Logitech ones, though, in my experience. I've tried most. I've tried Razer ones. If I was going to recommend an MMO mouse, I would recommend the Corsair Scimitar or a Razer variation. Now, Razer ones, in my experience, they're a bit overpriced, whereas the Corsair ones are a bit cheaper. Well, that's the last time I bought an MMO mouse anyway. I do like the looks of the Scimitar a lot more. The only problem is the software is a bit harder to set up. We will actually be covering in this video, how I actually set up my software so that I can get more keybinds, because I use the numbers along here normally, which is obviously also on the MMO mouse, but what I do is I re-keybind the keys on the MMO mouse to be F1 to F12, and there you can get even extra keybinds. Normally I only honestly use 1, 3, 4 and 5, or use them in combat anyway. I save number 2 for something that's not in combat like above, because you will have to take your finger off the W key. And you definitely do want a keyboard and mouse that has keys that are totally reprogrammable, because that's going to be very important too. Because what I do is the mouse wheel button, if I press that in, that actually becomes Alt, okay? And when I have Alt here, I have this as a different modifier, and Shift and Control as normal. I also like to keybind the caps lock, so I'm not always going in and out of the caps lock, so that I can use that as an ability and then put the caps lock somewhere else. So for instance, I can have this pressed down, the middle mouse button, and I can press E, and at the minute I'm pretty sure that is Icebound Fortitude, or actually it could be Anti-Magic Shell on my Death Knight. And you can actually also press Alt down here and then press the mouse buttons for even more keybinds, like this. So basically what I've done there, guys, is I accidentally pressed Alt F4, cancelled my screen recording software. That was very smart. Let's see if that can be recovered. So luckily I did manage to recover the audio file, but yeah, as I was trying to show, yes, so you can have extra keybinds here, and then you can also use modifiers on here like Shift to the mouse button to have even more keybinds. So basically you can duplicate these keybinds 3 times on the MMO mouse, and it's why I personally think, if you're playing MMOs, you are just going to have to pay the piper and get an MMO mouse. Honestly, could not live without this thing. It just, it gives you so much extra keybinds, and it's just so much easier to play MMOs when you do have an MMO mouse. Because without an MMO mouse, you're basically wasting a finger, you're wasting your thumb. Your thumb is useless without it. And obviously, another really big advantage of having a miniature keyboard is you save so much space on your desk. I've tried to represent that, I've got notepads here, got space for that, got space for the most important thing, a beer mat. But, I'm pretty like every degenerate gamer, I do like eating at my desk rather than being a civilized human being and eating at a dining table. So, I mean, normally all I have to do is that, and I can fit an entire plate here, and I'm sorted. So this is the software that I have for both my mouse and keyboard. Unfortunately, it is 2 separate companies, so I have to have 2 separate softwares. Main reason for that is because I found this keyboard for half the price in a second-hand shop just down the road, so I thought I had to get it. I only paid £52 for this. It retails for £110, and it was new out the box as well, so an absolute bargain there. But anyway, so as you can see, I do have my middle mouse button on here rekey binded to Alt, and then I can press Alt like I showed before with any keys like Q and E and C and whatever, rather than having to press my thumb really far down on to get to the Alt key. I just do it with the middle mouse button, and it's so much easier, and that unlocks loads of really good keybinds that are easy to press when playing games. And the side buttons I have reprogrammed to F12, but in hindsight when making this video, it's better to just use the numpad numbers instead, or pretty much any other key in your keyboard, to be honest, ones that you can't normally press. Because you want these keys to not be something that is going to trigger something in Windows, or obviously within the game. Sometimes the game, well, normally you could rekeybind, an MMO to your heart's content very usually, so it won't run into so many issues there. But like for instance, when I was recording this video, I did accidentally press F4. That was a bit stupid. So yeah, I think I'm going to reprogram these to the numpad keys, and I'd recommend for you guys to do the same. And say for instance that you want to switch from playing an MMO to a normal game, then you've got profile switching buttons on here just near the mouse button where you can just quickly switch. I normally have a profile for, well, I need to make the normal profile because I've recently reinstalled this software. But yeah, I have a profile for MMOs, and then I obviously have one for normal games, because sometimes you do need that middle mouse button for certain video games. You never know when that problem's going to pop up, so yeah, it's best to have a profile that just resets everything to default. You also have a DPI toggler, which is very good for shooting games, because yeah, sometimes you just want, to be honest, it's not even just shooting games, sometimes you just want your mouse to move faster or slower, and it will change the colour on the side of it, Corsair Scimitar, so you know what DPI setting that you're on, which is another useful thing. But anyway guys, that is my setup for how I play MMO games. My name is MetaGoblin. To the next video, ciao.